All right, welcome back on the 52 weeks, Bible in 52 weeks, Bible study for women. We are going to start with Ruth chapters 1 through 4, and then we're going to go to 1 Samuel 1 through 3, and then we'll go over the Bible study portion. Welcome in, Afro. Good to see you. God bless you. And I'm just going to put on our music. Yep, I'm so sorry. That was so loud. Yeah. Make sure you close your YouTube tabs before you open it back up. It was just a short about a flower. I don't know what they were even holding, but it looked like a flower. I'm just going to play the music in the background. I'm doing well. Thank you. I hope you're doing well. Doing very well. God willing. Okay. And focus. Okay. Yes, sir. And these ads want to be seen so bad. And nope, not today, Satan. We're just going to zoom in even more since they keep trying to push the ads on the screen. Excuse me. All right. So, yeah, I'm not reading that introduction. Okay. Ruth chapter 1. Naomi loses her husband and sons. In the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, so a man from Bethlehem in Judah, together with his wife and 2 sons, went to live for a while in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech. I'm so glad that's not gonna keep popping up. I can't say that name. I'm sorry. His wife's name was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem, Judah, and they went to Moab and lived there. Now, Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. They married Moabite women, one named Orpah and the other Ruth. After they had lived there about 10 years, both Mahlon and Chilion also died, and Naomi was left without her 2 sons and her husband. Naomi and Ruth returned to Bethlehem. When Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had come to the aid of his people by providing food for them, she and her daughters-in-law prepared to return home from there. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she left the place where she had been living and set out on the road that would take them back to the land of Judah. Then Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud and said to her, "We will go back with you to your people." But Naomi said, "Return home, my daughters. Why would you come with me? Am I going to have any more sons who would become your husbands? Who could become your husbands? Return home, my daughters. I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, even if I had a husband tonight and then gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters, it is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me." At this, they wept aloud again. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. "Look, said Naomi. Your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her. But Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her. So the two women went on until they came to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was stirred because of them, and the women exclaimed, "Can this be Naomi?" "Don't call me Naomi," she told them. "Call me Mara, because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why call me Naomi? The Lord has afflicted me. The Almighty has brought misfortune upon me." So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by Ruth the Moabite, her daughter-in-law, arriving in Bethlehem as the barley harvest was beginning. Just wanted to reflect on this, just reading that last paragraph. It's like, it does seem like when things are falling apart, God is already preparing that harvest, the redemption, like, it seems like the closer we get to that breakthrough, it feels like everything has just stopped. Like your whole world is just crumbling. And not Ruth, but Naomi has definitely went through a lot. And time again, it's like we would hear about widows in the Bible, but Naomi was the one that had the most attention, like as far as a detailed sense of like sorrow that she's had. Just from what I'm observing. Ruth chapter 2. Ruth meets Boaz excuse me, in the grain field. Now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side, a man of standing from the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor." Naomi said to her, "Go ahead, my daughter." So she went out, entered a field, and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turned out, she was working in a field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. Just then Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. "The Lord be with you." "The Lord bless you," they answered. Boaz asked the overseer of his harvesters, "Who does that young woman belong to?" The overseer replied, "She is a Moabite who came back from Moab with Naomi." She said, "Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves behind the harvesters." She came to the field and has remained there from morning till now, except for a short rest in the shelter. So Boaz said to Ruth, "My daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the men are harvesting. And follow along after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you. And whenever you are thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars as the men have filled. At this she bowed down her with her face to the ground. She asked him, Why have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, a foreigner? Boaz replied, I have been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. Now you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. May you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. May I continue to find favors in your eyes, my Lord, she said. You have put me at ease by speaking kindly to your servant, though I do not have the standing of one of your servants. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, Come over here, have some bread, and dip it in the wine vinegar. She sat down with the harvesters. He offered her some roasted grain. She ate all she wanted and had some left over. As she got up to glean, Boaz gave orders to his men, Let her gather among the sheaves, and don't reprimand her. Even pull out some stalks for her from the bundles, and leave them for her to pick up, and don't rebuke her. So Ruth gleaned in the field until evening. Then she threshed the barley she had gathered and amounted to about an ephah. She carried it back to town, and her mother-in-law saw how much she had gathered. Ruth also brought out and gave her what she had left over after she had eaten enough. Her mother-in-law asked her, Where did you glean today? Where did you work? Blessed be the man who took notice of you. Then Ruth told her mother-in-law about the one at whose place she had been working. The name of the man I worked with today is Boaz, she said. The Lord bless him, Naomi said to her daughter-in-law. He has not stopped showing his kindness to the living and the dead, she added. That man is our close relative. He is one of our guardian redeemers. Then Ruth the Moabite said, He even said to me, Stay with my workers until they finish harvesting all my grain. Naomi said to Ruth, her daughter-in-law, It will be good for you, my daughter, to go with the women who work for him, because in someone else's field you might be harmed. Ruth stayed close to the women of Boaz to glean until the barley and wheat harvests were finished, and she lived with her mother-in-law. Hi. Hello, Biscuit Baby. Hope you're doing well. God bless you. Ruth chapter 3. Ruth and Boaz at the threshing floor. One day, Ruth's mother-in-law, Naomi, said to her, My daughter, I must find a home for you, where you will be well provided for. Now Boaz, with whose women you have worked, is a relative of ours. Tonight he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash, put on perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, but don't let him know you are there until he has finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. He will tell you what to do. I will do whatever you say, Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, he went over to lie down at the far end of the grain pile. Ruth approached quietly, uncovered his feet, and lay down. In the middle of the night, something startled the man. He turned, and there was a woman lying at his feet. Who are you? He asked. I am your servant Ruth, she said. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are a guardian redeemer of our family. The Lord bless you, my daughter, he replied. This kindness is greater than that which you showed me earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am a guardian redeemer of our family, there is another who is more closely related than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to do his duty as your guardian redeemer, good, let him redeem you. But if he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here until morning. So she lay at his feet until morning, but got up before anyone could be recognized. And he said, no one must know that a woman came to the threshing floor. He also said, bring me the shawl you are wearing and hold it out. When she did so, he poured into it 6 measures of barley and placed the bundle on her. Then he went back to town. When Ruth came to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, how did it go, my daughter? Then she told her everything Boaz had done for her, and added, he gave me these 6 measures of barley, saying, don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed. Then Naomi said, wait, my daughter, until you find out what happens, for the man will not rest until the matter is settled today. Okay. Ruth chapter 4. Boaz marries Ruth. Meanwhile, Boaz went up to the town gate and sat down there, just as the guardian redeemer he had mentioned came along. Boaz said, come over here, my friend, and sit down. So he went over and sat down. Boaz took 10 of the elders of the town and said, sit here, and they did so. Then he said to the guardian redeemer, Naomi, who has come back from Moab, is selling the piece of land that belonged to our relative Elimelech. I thought I should bring the matter to your attention and suggest that you buy it in the presence of these seated here and in the presence of the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, do so. But if you will not, tell me so I will know. For no one has the right to do it except you, and I am next in line. I will redeem it, he said. Then Boaz said, on the day you buy the land from Naomi, you will also acquire Ruth the Moabite, the dead man's widow, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property. At this, the guardian redeemer said, then I cannot redeem it because I might endanger my own estate. You redeem it yourself. I cannot do it. Now in earlier times in Israel, for the redemption and transfer of property to become final, one party took off his sandal and gave it to the other. This was the method of legalizing transactions in Israel. So the guardian redeemer said to Boaz, buy it yourself, and he removed his sandal. Then Boaz announced to the elders and all the people, today you are witnesses that I have bought from Naomi all property of Elimelech, Kilion, and Mahlon. I have also acquired Ruth the Moabite, Mahlon's widow, as my wife, in order to maintain the name of the dead with his property, so that his name will not disappear from among his family or from his hometown. Today you are witnesses. Then the elders and all the people at the gate said, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the family of Israel. May you have standing in the Ephrathah and be famous in Bethlehem. Through the offspring the Lord gives you by this woman, may your family be like that of Perez, whom Tamar bore to Judah. Naomi gains a son. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. When he made love to her, the Lord enabled her to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. The women said to Naomi, "Praise be to the Lord, is this day, who this day has not left you without a guardian redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law, who loves you and who is better to you than 7 sons, has given him birth." Then Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for him. The women living there said, "Naomi has a son," and they named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, the father of David. The genealogy of David. This then is the family line of Perez. Perez was the father of Hezron, Hezron the father of Ram, Ram the father of Aminadab, Aminadab the father of Nahshon, Nahshon the father of Salmon, Salmon the father of Boaz, Boaz the father of Obed, Obed the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of David. Okay, and we can read the bio of Naomi and Ruth. Naomi was old, Ruth was young. Naomi was from Judah, Ruth from Moab. The women had vastly different religious backgrounds. To complicate matters, they were in-laws. We would expect relational tension, yet these two were utterly devoted to one another. Why? They suffered together. Heartbroken from losing their husbands, the two widows shared a common grief. They looked out for one another. Even as they mourned the past, they had to think about their future. Fact is, life was brutal for widows of that era and culture. Women without the protection of a father or husband lived in constant danger as they tried to eke out an existence. Returning to Israel, the women formulated a plan. Since Naomi was old, Ruth would do the heavy lifting, and since Ruth didn't know the local customs, Naomi would coach her in what to do. The older woman instructed the younger to go and glean the unharvested heads of grain from the edges of nearby wheat fields. This explains how Ruth wandered onto the property of Boaz, one of Naomi's wealthier relatives. When Boaz took a shine to the new girl, he sent her home with a massive load of grain. Hearing these details, Naomi decided to play matchmaker. They relied upon a guardian redeemer. Ancient Jewish law provided for the purchase of the property of a deceased relative in order to keep land in the family. This custom also involved marrying the man's widow and having children with her so as to perpetuate the family line. Naomi explained these matters to Ruth and told her to approach Boaz, essentially propose marriage. When Ruth did so, the flattered Boaz honorably admitted there was a closer relative still. When that man refused the opportunity to play the role of guardian redeemer, Boaz eagerly stepped in. The two married. Their son Obed eventually became the granddad of a man you've probably heard of, David, eventual king of Israel. The story is a stunning reminder that God's power redeems desperate situations. His grace unites disparate things. He forged an unlikely friendship between two very different women. He brought about an unexpected marriage between a peasant girl and a prosperous guardian redeemer. The love story between Boaz and Ruth foreshadows the coming of Jesus as the ultimate guardian redeemer. It's Jesus who gladly rescues broken and hurting, lost and hopeless people. All right, so we're going to get into 1 Samuel. And I think this one's we're going to do only 3 today. Okay. Let me make sure I change it here. First Samuel chapter 1. The birth of Samuel. There was a certain man from Ramathaim, a Zuphite from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. He had two wives. One was called Hannah, and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. Year after year, this man went up from his town to worship and sacrifice to the Lord Almighty in Shiloh, where Hophni and Phinehas, the two sons of Eli, were priests of the Lord. Whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to his wife Peninnah and to all her sons and daughters, but to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved her, and the Lord had closed her womb. Because the Lord had closed Hannah's womb, her rival kept provoking her in order to irritate her. This went on year after year. Whenever Hannah went up to the house of the Lord, her rival provoked her until she wept and would not eat. Her husband Elkanah would say to her, "Hannah, why are you weeping? Why don't you eat? Why are you downhearted? Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons?" Once when they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, Hannah stood up. Now Eli the priest was sitting on his chair by the doorpost of the Lord's house. In her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord and weeping bitterly. And she made a vow, saying, "Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for all the days of his life, and no razor will ever be used on his head." As she kept on praying to the Lord, Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was praying in her heart, and her lips were moving, but her voice was not heard. Eli thought she was drunk and said to her, "How long are you going to stay drunk? Put away your wine." "Not so, my lord," Hannah replied. "I am a woman who is deeply troubled. I have not been drinking wine or beer. I was pouring out my soul to the Lord. Do not take your servant for a wicked woman. I have been praying here out of my great anguish and grief." Eli answered, "Go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant what you have asked of him." She said, "May your servant find favor in your eyes." Then she went her way and ate something, and her face was no longer downcast. Early the next morning they arose and worshipped before the Lord, and they went back to their home at Ramah. Elkanah made love to his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. So in the course of time, Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, saying, "Because I asked the Lord for him." Hannah dedicates Samuel. When her husband Elkanah went up with all his family to offer the annual sacrifice for the Lord and to fulfill his vow, Hannah did not go. She said to her husband, "After the boy is weaned, I will take him and present him before the Lord, and he will live there always." "Do what seems best to you," her husband Elkanah told her. "Stay here until you have weaned him. Only may the Lord make good his word." So the woman stayed at home and nursed her son until she had weaned him. After he was weaned, she took the boy with her, young as he was, along with a 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour, and a skin of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord at Shiloh. When the bull had been sacrificed, they brought the boy to Eli, and she said to him, "Pardon me, my lord. As surely as you live, I am the woman who stood here beside you praying to the Lord. I prayed for this child, and the Lord has granted me what I asked of him. So now I give him to the Lord. For his whole life he will be given over to the Lord. And he worshiped the Lord there. Hannah's prayer. 1 Samuel chapter 2. Then Hannah prayed and said, My heart rejoices in the Lord. In the Lord my horn is lifted high. My mouth boasts over my enemies, for I delight in your deliverance. There is no one holy like the Lord. There is no one besides you. There is no rock like our God. Do not keep talking so proudly, or let your mouth speak such arrogance, for the Lord is a God who knows, and by him deeds are weighed. The bows of the warriors are broken, but those who stumbled are armed with strength. Those who were full hire themselves out for food, but those who are hungry no more. She who was barren has borne 7 children, but she who has had many sons pines away. The Lord brings death and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and raises up. The Lord sends poverty and wealth. He humbles and he exalts. He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap. He seats them with princes and has them inherit a throne of honor. For the foundations of the earth are the Lord's. On them he has set the world. He will guard the feet of his faithful servants, but the wicked will be silenced in the place of darkness. It is not by strength that one prevails. Those who oppose the Lord will be broken. The Most High will thunder from heaven. The Lord will judge the ends of the earth. He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. Then Elkanah went home to Ramah, but the boy ministered before the Lord under Eli the priest. Eli's wicked sons. Eli's sons were scoundrels. They had no regard for the Lord. Now it was the practice of the priests that whenever any of the people offered a sacrifice, the priest's servant would come with a 3-pronged fork in his hand while the meat was being boiled, and would plunge the fork into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot. Whatever the fork brought up, the priest would take for himself. This is how they treated all the Israelites who came to Shiloh. But even before the fat was burned, the priest's servant would come and say to the person who was sacrificing, Give the priest some meat to roast. He won't accept boiled meat from you, but only raw. If the person said to him, Let the fat be burned first, and then take whatever you want, the servant would answer, No, hand it over now. If you don't, I'll take it by force. This sin of the young men was very great in the Lord's sight, for they were treating the Lord's offering with contempt. But Samuel was ministering before the Lord, a boy wearing a linen ephod. Each year his mother made him a little robe and took it to him when she went up with her husband to offer the annual sacrifice. Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife by saying, May the Lord give you children by this woman to take the place of the one she prayed for and gave to the Lord. Then they would go home, and the Lord was gracious to Hannah. She gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. Meanwhile, the boy Samuel grew up in the presence of the Lord. Now Eli, who was very old, heard about everything his sons were doing to all Israel, and how they slept with the women who served at the entrance to the tent of meeting. So he said to them, Why do you do such things? I hear from all the people about these wicked deeds of yours. No, my sons, The report I hear spreading among the Lord's people is not good. If one person sins against another, God may mediate for the offender. But if anyone sins against the Lord, who will intercede for them? His sons, however, did not listen to their father's rebuke, for it was the Lord's will to put them to death. And the boy Samuel continued to grow in stature and in favor with the Lord and with people. Prophecy against the house of Eli. Now a man of God came to Eli and said to him, "This is what the Lord says. Did I not clearly reveal myself to your ancestors' family when they were in Egypt under Pharaoh? I chose your ancestor out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to go up to my altar and to burn incense, and to wear an ephod in my presence. I also gave your ancestors' family all the food offerings presented by the Israelites. Why do you scorn my sacrifice and offering that I prescribed for my dwelling? Why do you honor your sons more than me by fattening yourselves on the choice parts of every offering made by my people Israel? Therefore the Lord, the God of Israel, declares, I promised that members of your family would minister before me forever. But now the Lord declares, far be it from me. Those who honor me I will honor, but those who despise me will be disdained. The time is coming when I will cut short your strength at the strength of your priestly house, so that no one in it will reach old age, and you will see distress in my dwelling. Although good will be done to Israel, no one in your family line will ever reach old age. Every one of you that I do not cut off from serving at my altar, I will spare only to destroy your sight and sap your strength, and all your descendants will die in the prime of life. And what happens to your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, will be assigned to you. They will both die on the same day. I will raise up for myself a faithful priest who will do according to what is in my heart and mind. I will firmly establish his priestly house, and they will minister before my anointed one always. Then everyone left in your family line will come and bow down before him for a piece of silver and a loaf of bread and plead, appoint me to some priestly office so I can have food to eat." First Samuel chapter 3. The Lord calls Samuel. The boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. In those days the word of the Lord was rare. There were not many visions. One night Eli, whose eyes were becoming weak so that he could barely see, was lying down in his usual place. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the house of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called Samuel. Samuel answered, "Here I am." And he ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." But Eli said, "I did not call, go back and lie down." So he went and lay down. Again the Lord called, "Samuel." And Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." "My son," Eli said, "I did not call, go back and lie down." Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord. The word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. The third time the Lord called, "Samuel." And Samuel got up and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, you called me." Then Eli realized that the Lord was calling the boy. So Eli told Samuel, "Go and lie down. If he calls you, say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. The Lord came and stood there, calling as at the other times, "Samuel, Samuel." Then Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." And the Lord said to Samuel, "See, I am about to do something in Israel that will make the ears of everyone who hears about it tingle. At that time, I will carry out against Eli everything I spoke against his family from beginning to end. For I told him that I would judge his family forever because of the sin he knew about. His sons blasphemed God. He failed to restrain them. Therefore, I swore to the house of Eli, the guilt of Eli's house will never be atoned for by sacrifice or offering." Samuel lay down until morning and then opened the doors of the house of the Lord. He was afraid to tell Eli the vision, but Eli called him and said, "Samuel, my son." Samuel answered, "Here I am." "What was it he said to you?" Eli asked. "Do not hide it from me. May God deal with you, be it ever so severely, if you hide from me anything he told you." So Samuel told him everything, hiding nothing from him. Then Eli said, "He is the Lord. Let him do what is good in his eyes." The Lord was with Samuel as he grew up, and he let none of Samuel's words fall on the ground. And all Israel from Dan to Beersheba recognized that Samuel was attested as a prophet of the Lord. The Lord continued to appear at Shiloh, and there he revealed himself to Samuel through his word. And Samuel's word came to all Israel. In 1 Samuel chapter 1, we find the story of a woman who experienced a void in her life. Her name was Hannah. She was childless because the Lord had closed her womb. To make matters worse, her husband's other wife, Peninnah, did have children. Keep in mind that children were a sign of worth and a basis for security. So the mere fact that the Lord had not allowed Hannah to have children left her feeling worthless, incomplete, and hopeless. At the time, she didn't know what God had in store for her. She could only see what she didn't have and couldn't do, and this put her in a bad mental and emotional place. Hannah felt so much stress that she couldn't eat. Her husband, Elkanah, tried to make her feel better by giving her a double portion of his possessions. So that wasn't what she wanted or needed. So what did she do? She didn't complain, blame her husband, or start a fight with Peninnah out of jealousy. She went to the temple and began to pour out her soul to God. The problem with many of us is that we tend to pour out our souls to other people, hoping they'll give us answers, when most times they can only offer us their opinions. We have to take our struggles to the one who has the power to answer our prayers and solve our problems. That's what Hannah did. She went to the temple and prayed so intently that Eli, the priest, thought she was drunk and asked her when she'd be ready to quit drinking. She responded, "No, my lord, I am a woman of sorrowful spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor intoxicating drink, but I have poured out my soul before the Lord." That's when Eli told her to go in peace and that God would grant her what she'd asked for. After that, Hannah went on her way and was no longer sad. Of course, if you read to the end of the story, you know that Hannah was ultimately responsible for birthing Samuel, one of the greatest prophets recorded in Scripture. But even before she conceived, it gave Hannah peace to be able to pour out her soul to the Lord and speak her truth to Eli. Many of us hold on to things that onto things that we can't change. We internalize them and allow them to stress us out to the point of anxiety and depression. I encourage you to free yourself from those things by pouring out your soul to the Lord. Have an honest moment with yourself and admit what has you troubled, and then trust God enough to give it to Him to handle. While you're waiting on God to help you, He may be waiting on you to cry out to Him. These are the points to ponder. Number 1. What is at the top of your stress list? Why is it such a stressor? Number 2. How do you normally handle those things that you have no control over? Be honest. Number 3. After reading Hannah's story, what have you learned about yourself? Going forward, how will you handle your stress? Verse of the week. The entire family got up early the next morning and went to worship the Lord once more. Then they returned home to Ramah. When Elkanah slept with Hannah, the Lord remembered her plea, and in due time she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, for she said, I asked the Lord for him. 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 19 to 20. Those are some really good points to ponder. Hello, 8 times. Good to see you. God bless you. Hope you're doing well. Those are some really good points to ponder. I do feel that a lot of us tend to internalize, or we give too much of what's inside to everyone else except God. And we may dismiss it as, oh, well, I said it out loud, so God heard what I said, or God knows my heart. It's okay if I don't directly talk to Him. Think of your physical parent being in the room as you're talking to your friend. Now, your parent may voice certain concerns, but if you ignore them and keep talking to your friend about it because you're just so hurt, and now you expect your parent to step in and automatically solve your issues, and that's it, even though you have no relationship with that parent, you won't even give them eye contact. You're just, yeah, I'm so upset about this, and you just keep on talking. How do you think the Lord would feel that His own children don't bother to say, you know what, God, this is what's going on? Yes, He is all-knowing. Yes, He can read your heart. He knows you better than anybody else. But there is relationship. The relationship, it would have to be like mutual. It would have to be for both parties. So you and God, that's 2. You need to talk to Him. Not just, we're not in a passive faith. We're not in a faith where we just kind of voice everything to everybody else and look for everybody else to solve our problems, or to even just understand where we're coming from. Whatever the case may be, whatever your intention is, it needs to be directed to the one who knows you best, to the one who loves you more than anybody else ever could love you directly. God loves you more than your parents, your earthly parents. God loves you more than your children. God loves you more than your husband, wife, whoever in your life. He loves you more than them. So understand that it's always better to be very vocal to your Abba, to your Father in heaven. He loves you and He wants that relationship with you. So I would just take a step back, review those points to ponder, and share in the comment section if you want. If not, I understand. But I will be praying on this for myself too, because I know at times I can shut down. I may not want to talk to anyone. There's times where I've had that, but then it's like I realize before I even go to sleep, or if I've accidentally napped before talking to him, I'm like, okay, let me wake back up and go talk to him. And I'll talk to him, and it's like, why couldn't I just say that all day long? I had to wait until the end of the day to say that. So it's a battle that I deal with sometimes, where I have to say, you know what? Once I feel it in that moment, I need to just voice it. I need to stop bottling things up until the end of the day, or bottling things up for the week. That's definitely not a healthy thing to let it build up, because that kind of stress being left in your body is a very toxic chemical. It's very, very toxic. Cortisol is icky stuff. Just like you have dopamine, which is the opposite. It's the happy chemical. So I'm sorry, I'm talking brain terminology, or not really brain. Is it brain or anyway? I hope you got got the point. But yeah. God bless, and I'll see you guys at the next reading.